Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here, and I'm super excited to talk about this one. Let's talk about some team comps for Huohuo. Now, a healer, as most of us know, is super general. You can really slot into most team compositions, but I want to talk about a couple that she really outperforms in and really shines compared to the other healers in the game. If you guys want more in-depth comparison of like Luota versus her, that's not the main point of this video. It'll be found in another video, which I've already done on the channel. You can check it out if you are contemplating either one of these characters. But anyway, in this video specifically, we're just going to be talking about Huohuo and the teams that are best suited for her. Now, let's start off first with the one that you're probably going to see on a lot of places, community talking about it, is the DOT teams. Why damage over time is really good for her? Let's talk about some characters first. Let's put it up here so it's easier to see. We have, let's say, Kafka, you're playing her. You have characters like Fen, you have characters like Luca, you have characters like Sampo as well. So all these characters have some sort of DOT procs in them. Let's put Esther here because some people like to run like maybe a double nihility together with one more utility like Esther. Why Huohuo is good is her ultimate ability buffs like energy for all three of these members as well as attack percentage. Firstly, attack percentage is good for them because DOTs don't crit, and if you don't crit, the only way to increase the damage output you get is through attack percentage and of course like damage percentage and defense shredding and etc. For those of you who want more detail about DOT and what affects DOT, check out our DOT primer guide, which helps you get started if any of you who are new to the game or maybe unfamiliar with DOT. But that aside, attack percentage aside, the energy is very good because your damage is actually going to come from multiple sources, not just like one hyper carry kind that a lot of us are used to seeing, like Zila hyper carry, Jingliu hyper carry, for example in Bible Lune hyper carry, Jingyuan, and etc. etc. This is going to come from across the board where you have a bit of damage here and there. So for example, a Kafka team will look like this. You have her bursting to proc the DOTs, you have characters like maybe Sampo to proc his ultimate as well, or Fen to do her own amount of burn damage, Luca if it's like single target bleed damage too, and of course Esther or whoever is in your utility slot is able to help buff up the rest of the team, or even you can like swap it out like that where you can have like triple DOT as well. It really depends what you want from the last slot, but it's quite flexible in this case because she is a healer. So that is the DOT aspect. If you think about it in the game currently, the only way that your abundance unit, there's no other one that fully supports this kind of lineup. If you look at it, maybe the only exception is a preservation character that is super chunky and uses the light cone trend of universal market, the one that procs burn, but of course it's a 4-star gacha light cone. Other than that, she's super good because if you notice like DOT teams like this, they tend to take damage across the board. What I mean by that is no one draws aggro here. Like Esther has no aggro draw, Kafka has no aggro draw, and any of these other characters really don't have any like higher amounts of aggro compared to each other. So what you will expect to see is a bit of RNG in terms of, let's say the enemy is attacking you, you have like randomness in terms of who they target. If it's AoE splash, even better, she heals it all up, and that's why she's super beneficial also because she heals very nice in an AoE fashion, like a single target and like splashing heal across the side, heals a lot, cleanses a lot, especially in teams that don't want to build too much effect rest. For example, they don't have broken kill because they don't scale off with crit damage as well, so their effect rest would slightly be lower, which is why she's super synergetic compared to the other healers. You can run DOT teams without her. I'm not saying like she's a must pull, but she will make it a lot more convenient and you can allocate your stats into more efficient places, and you will see a lot of them contributing a lot more to the damage roster. So that's the first team that I want to talk about, the DOT team. The second team that I want to talk about is really building off the first one that we saw. So we talked about how she gives energy towards the entire team and how she provides attack bars to the entire team. This logic would then move to a double DPS or even a triple DPS kind of team composition. And why do I say that? In other team compositions, maybe you have a character, for example, like Luota, who is more individualistic in terms of like healing one character, cleansing or debuffing and or removing buffs from the enemy. Luota is more like single target focus of a character that wants to damage himself, like maybe a character like Blade, whereas Huohuo has no real like preference for one particular unit and actually prefers everyone to be contributing to the battle, which is why giving energy to the rest of the team, giving the attack percentage to the rest of the team, super good as well. That is why she's more of a double. She will basically bring involved double DPS teams and so on and so forth, and she likely will be able to solo sustain. So what are some double DPS teams that we could think about? Perhaps you could run maybe the DOT team is an example of that because you have 2 damage dealers, but I think a lot of us can probably run if you're pulling perhaps a character like Argentine in the second half, or let's use maybe a proxy for him. You can put like Himiko here because of the new follow attack buffs and stuff like that. But let's just say we want to run another character like everyone has, or Serval. So I give you like 3 choices that we can think of. Erudition characters, AoE DPSs that do a lot of damage as well. Some of them benefiting more in 1.5 because they are now added into the game. So I think super strong or new relics are added into the game. Your second DPS slot is like super flexible. You can run Topaz if you wanted to, especially with the new 1.5 sets. You can test her out and stuff like that. Can be ran as a main DPS, secondary DPS. You can run somewhat relatively independent like Susang, who really benefits a lot from breaking enemies. She has mainly independence, has cell speed up, can act again as well. Super versatile. So any hunt character here really is an option. And last but not least, of course, you can run a team-wide support in terms of damage dealing. Perhaps you can run Hanya, perhaps you can run like Bronya, any Harmony unit, or even Pella, since AoE defense break favors like multiple DPS lineup. So as you can see, it's quite flexible because she gives a lot of buffs to a lot of team members, allowing your Pella to even be a pseudo damage dealer because she can burst very often, has that attack percentage, provides that defense break to the enemies as well, so your DPSs get even more damage because you attack buff your team, you defense break the enemy, you get even more damage as well. So a traditional like simple AoE single target works very well. I think a lot of people will start moving towards double DPS lineups or even triple DPS lineups more with Huohuo compared to in the past where we don't really have like offensive support that gives like that much buffs to the rest of the team. Think of it like maybe as a Tingyun but more of an AoE nature. That is the way I like to see it. Of course, I think you can also run her with Tingyun here, for example, and maybe like hyper carry one particular person because you can buff energy to everyone, then she can buff the energy to like slap on another person. For example, like you are super hyper carrying Tingyun or something like that. So I think an interesting team combo will be like a Huohuo and maybe Tingyun in the utility slot here. So you get like a double combo of energy here, you heal everyone's energy and then she pumps back. You could even like pump back to Huohuo some energy also, so you can boost her up so you at least have some kind of like closed loop system of energy generation. Will be interesting to see, but I definitely am looking forward to testing these kind of gimmicks out too. But of course, let's talk about the last team comp, which I think is going to be very, very useful, especially since most of the people who likely will be watching a healer build guide video tend to be free to play. You might not have as many 5-star characters as a lot of the other players currently in the game, so I want to have something for everyone. The logic is very, very similar. What I would recommend, especially for most of you starting, is play the characters that you like to play. If you like Huohuo, just think of your other characters. So you always will want to think of your secondary slot here as the primary character that you're trying to buff. Now I'm going to put a proxy here because I have no idea what comms you like or what characters you have in your team. Let's say we have a free to play character like Dan Heng. In this case, if we have Dan Heng here as a single target damage dealer, then what we will want to do is focus on maybe a bit of an AoE damage dealer in the utility slot because it's quite flexible, and now sustain has already been filled by here. So this one, let's just say, is like a DPS oriented. So if you have a single target DPS here, you want to pair it up with like a AoE DPS, so you match one of each elemental typing or a style of damage typing. And your utility here, you can easily slot in like a character like Esther, who gives attack buff to the team. You can boost their speed also to help them get more energy restoration because they move faster. That is another way of doing it. Of course, this is like a free-to-play team, so I can't put in a lot of the other gacha characters, but you can easily swap out. For example, if you like Ting Chue, you can put her in. But of course, one thing to note is you must manage your skill points better, especially with free-to-play team comps, and a character like Huohuo might not be super skill point positive as of now, but of course, this is good enough to get us started, to have a versatile enough team comp so you don't feel like it's very, very difficult to progress. And beyond that, I think there are tons of other guides on the channel that you can think of as well. And right now, if you are free to play, I highly recommend you check out this video comparing Huohuo and Luota, the benefits of both of them and which style might actually suit you. And I already talked about it in many, many different kinds of team composition. Highly recommended. Check it out. Anyways, like and subscribe for more of such future videos. See you in the next video.